Welcome to the up and down matches here at the GSL. I am Wolf, and as always, Kaldor is with me, and we have a pretty interesting set of matches. My favorite group, actually, out of all the groups we have.
We have a really interesting one today. We have Group F, once again, 5 players who want to advance to Codes. They were not able to do it in the regular season, so now they get their second chance. And one of the players that we have today that I'm really interested to see is Avenge.
Yeah, Avenge is going to be one of the definitely most talked about players in this group. He looked really, really strong. If he didn't have to face Flash, I think it would have been pretty almost sure that he would have gotten into Codes.
And you know, even against Flash, he looked really solid. He played 2 great games. He lost both of them, but it was really close. The score itself, when you look at just the best of 3 result, definitely does not reflect this series. So he was quite close, looked a little bit nervous. No shame going up against a strong player and a famous player like Flash. But now he's in the up and downs, and we have 5 players, so Avenge gets another chance, as do all the other players that are fighting in today's group.
Yeah, exactly. So it's definitely going to be a pretty sick day of matches in general. SC also making a bit of a comeback this season. Came back and joined FX Open again, and so he has a ton of potential to get out of this group.
Yeah, SC being one of the 5 players, as well as Avenge, of course. We have Yonghwa, we have Crazy, and we have Keen. Really interesting lineup today. Don't forget about the season final tickets, and don't forget that we will actually have a stream here at the studio, GOMTV, and for the first time, we have actually the English audio being broadcasted in the studio.
Yeah, so if you guys come down to the studio here in Gangnam, get off at Samsung Station, go out exit 1, you'll find that really, really easily. If you come down here, then you'll be able to hear the English audio throughout the entire studio, no Korean audio, so it'll be kind of a first-time thing. So if you're in Seoul, you've been to the studio before, use the headsets, you want to get a different experience, definitely recommend coming up, especially because the matches are going to be so good anyways.
Exactly. The season finals are going to be quite intense, and I'm really looking forward to casting them. It's just such a great weekend.
Yeah.
The entire week, basically. We have 3 days of up and down matches, and then we're going right into the season finals. But before we start with today's games, we're having a quick look at the results of last week. And here we go. As you can see, Group A, B, and C well played out, and advancing were Maru and Lenok for Group A. In Group B, then we had Fantasy and Savage going into Codes, and in Group C, it was First and Hurricane. And especially Savage playing really well. The Byakugan Zerg here with amazing scouting against all of his opponents. So here we currently see the race distribution.
We had a crazy tiebreak situation last week too, so if you're really into that and you want to kind of watch that unfold, go check out the VODs. We still have a very Zerg-dominated lineup going into the OSL, but it's not going to be that way necessarily going into the actual, roster of who's going into that Premier League, because we still have 2 players each day to get through, a lot of different races coming through as well.
And you could really see, especially in during the season, that we had a lot of Zerg players qualify because of Wings of Liberty into Heart of the Swarm, and we had a really Zerg-heavy lineup going into the first season in 2013 in Heart of the Swarm, but now Zergs are kind of being filled out a little bit. Yeah, still a very strong race, and still represented here within the league, but they are kind of losing a little bit of ground, so we're getting more into a balanced scenario.
Looking at these 5 players, 2 players have the most experience. They are SC and Keen. SC going through that ESF tournament, getting that seed. Not a direct seed, but just actually winning a tournament in order to get through. Keen, the most experienced by far, with over 100 games played, and a lot of people favoring him to get out of this group. Is he on the level, though? Keen's been one of those players that is arguably not consistent. He's sometimes in Codes looks excellent on some days, sometimes looks a little bit of a flop.
You know, I personally think that this is today going to be one of the closest group that we had so far. Crazy has really good results in Heart of the Swamp. Keen, on the other hand, as you said, a player that has shown us in the past already how strong he is. Avenge, a little bit more of an up-and-comer who really left an impression after his Code A run. Yonghwa, of course, always a little bit hyped up, always someone who can win a group. And then we have SC, who came back into Starcraft 2 and suddenly starts with an all-kill in the GSDL. So a really strong group, and every player here has it in him to get out of the group to get into Codes.
Definitely could be the case, man. Crazy. One of those top-notch players as well, who's coming from Codes, not able to really make a big splash there just yet, but he's just one group away from getting right back in.
Yeah, the amazing thing about Crazy is that in the recent games, in the recent matches that he played, not only here but also in Pro League, then in the up in the Code A, it was just really solid performance. In Code A, he lost in the 3rd round against Flying, but even then it was a very, very close match. He took one of the maps, so Crazy definitely a little bit on the run these days. Whereas Keen, on the other hand, has a little bit more problems transitioning into Heart of the Swarm, but still has a really good performance, especially in GSTL this season. So he's a player who could show us great play here. They will play the first match today on Belcher Vestige, our first map here, and we are starting things off with the Zerg versus Terran.
Yep, Keen definitely good in this matchup, known for his Hellions. Can he transition into the heart of the swarm in the OSL? We'll find out here at the GSL up and downs. Outer and Bolt.
Say hello to the robots.
Starting to the bottom right of the map, we have the Zerg player for CJ Enters. It is...
KT roster crazy.
Why did I just say CJ Enters? How did that happen? Well, he's of course playing for KT roles, so don't let yourself be confused by me. I don't know what just happened, but well, the player to the top left is of course the opponent, the Terran player, Team MVP, the commander.
MVP King.
Keen having the most games played in the group, televised, and so much experience.
A lot of this experience is in Wings of Liberty, though, and if you look a little bit at the statistics for the two players, consider well, always regarding the offline performance here, Crazy has actually only played one single game against Terran in Heart of the Swarm in an offline environment, and he won the match. It was at Pro League, and he defeated TY, aka Baby. Whereas on the other hand, we have Keen, who performed in Code S in the first season against two Zergs, didn't take a single map in the group. He lost to Shine with a 2-0 and also lost to Symbol with a 2-0. Then in the GSTL, he at least was able to win his best of one against Kangho, against Lucira. But just looking at the results so far, don't have a lot of games to go on, but yeah, Crazy looks a little bit stronger in the matchup right now.
He certainly does. One thing to keep in mind is that this is the only Terran versus Zerg that Keen will have to play in this group, since Crazy's the only Zerg, and on Crazy's perspective, he doesn't have to practice for ZVZ in this group at all, so he can focus only on Terrans and Protosses. So that's a huge advantage that he has, being the only Zerg.
Exactly, that's always a pretty cool situation to be in if you know you only have to prepare 2 matchups and all your opponents, they have to prepare specifically for 3 of them. So that's something that will definitely give Crazy a little bit of an advantage going into these games. Keen, on the other hand, is likely to just have a build prepared for his opponent. This is the first game that they play, so Keen is done with a ZVT. As a first player, can prepare for that specific map and then hope that it doesn't go into a 3-way tie.
Yeah. That would be the only reason why he'd have to play the matchup again. There's a possibility he ends up on the same map there. He's going to send an SCV scout out now. Crazy sees everything, of course. CC first, followed up by Barracks. He doesn't see the gas, though.
Yeah. Has no idea about the gas just yet, but he sees what's happening at his opponent's front door at the ramp. So let's see how exactly Keen is going to react to this. He has his pool already, so he won't be able to go into a double hatch before pool. And the SCV for Keen is now also just scouting what's going on here, getting into the main base, sees that there's no gas taken just yet.
That's a very comfortable feeling as a Terran to see no gas at this point. Obviously, it could be taken right after the SCV is killed, but at least he knows it's no fast pressure coming, so he can relatively safely tech now into his factory. And yeah, Keen loves his Hellions, as we all know.
Exactly. Keen's Hellions are quite famous, and we might see them once again. And because we haven't seen this many games of him just yet in Heart of the Swarm, where he played against against Zerg successfully, I'm wondering if he's now shifting it up into Albats, or if we will once again see the Keen Hellions trying to sneak in his opponent's base.
Yeah, you know, since he's only taken one gas, it doesn't look like it's going to be a fast Hellbat tech, but he could go for it a little bit later. We've seen this delayed Hellbat drop so much in the GSL, in Pro League, and everywhere else, really, even in WCS Europe and NA.
Yeah. This is one of the maps where a Zerg player has a lot of potential to just bust with Roach Banelings, maybe even just with Banelings alone, because it's a huge gap that you have to defend when you want to protect your natural. You always have to set up a lot of supply depots and also bunkers to make sure that there's nothing sneaking through. So this leaves Crazy in a position where he could be aggressive. And so far, he hasn't taken a third base, even though he saw that his opponent started off with a command center first.
Yeah.
Heading over there with the drone now, though.
And Keen, only with that one gas, gets his third command center up pretty quickly here. And he also makes it a part of his new wall here. Looks like there's just a little bit of a gap. Barely there. I was wondering why he didn't put a second depot. It looks like maybe he didn't realize it, but either way, his third command center is started now, and he doesn't go into like a super greedy eBay build. He's actually adding a tech lab now to get stem faster.
What we see for Crazy is triple gas at the 6-minute mark, so he will be able to start his tech fairly soon at 7 minutes, which is kind of normal. Depends a little bit on which kind of style he wants to play. And Crazy definitely knows that Keen is someone who really loves his Hellions. Already setting up his wall, not only with the double evolution chamber, but also with the double queen that is blocking off every single space. So Keen should not be able to break through here.
He even gets a Roach Warren, and this could be for safety, could be for aggression as well, but at this time it looks more like a safety Roach Warren. with the double evos. He could do some later timings though.
Yeah, we are currently looking at in total 38 harvesters going up to 44 and setting up the last remaining gas here. So it's going to be interesting to see what kind of tech we're going to see from Crazy. He definitely still has the potential to be aggressive, and Keen did not get a siege tank. He's completely relying on Hellions and a few Widow Mines, so he has to be careful how he's going to approach this. No lair tech so far, and ooh, we actually see the +1/+1 here for ranged units, so it looks more and more like we are going to see this timing on 3 bases once the upgrades are done. I would expect to see a lair tech fairly soon and then heading straight into the speed upgrade for the roaches as well.
Yeah, that's exactly what we'll be saying. There's the lair, as you say it, and Hellions moving out just to scout a little bit here. Really, really nice scout by Crazy into the main base. He saw the 3rd command center, he saw the barracks being added, and he can relatively assume there's not going to be E-base, so he knows it's going to be a timing that is not as easy to hit if Keen had been playing a little bit greedier, but he knows, hey, you know what, maybe I can make this work. There's no tech lab on the factory, no siege tanks at all.
Yeah, we have seen a few players trying to go more and more into this Hydra and Roach style. Personally, I think it's really strong, but the big problem that we have with this is that drops are so effective. Hellion sneaking into the main right now.
This is Keen,
man.
man.
Crazy not really paying attention to his wall here.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. He's going to lose some drones. Looks like he's splitting pretty well, though. This could have done a lot more if Crazy had not microed so well, but he's actually cleaned this up relatively easily, and Keen now trying to go into the natural.
At the same time, we have a lot of extra drones being produced for Crazy, sacrificing the lava here. A few drones being toasted here at the natural, but the Queen already doing a decent job, and the Roaches making sure that those Hellions are not getting too much done. Oh! But a great hit there.
Yeah.
And in total, 13 killed. 13
killed is a lot, and all the larvae you're talking about is the most important thing because that really affects Crazy's timing. You want to use some of that larva on Roaches.
And we have him now going into the Hydra Den. So the Roach speed upgrade has been started, but everything that just happened with Keen doing so much damage already delayed a potential timing for Crazy and kind of made it impossible for him. So he's going into the Hydra Den right now. And Roach Hydra can be really strong. It's also good against Widow Mines if you have the Overseers because you can take a few hits with your Roaches. But the one weakness that this build really has is drop play.
Yeah.
If the Terran player is good at multitasking and is dropping everywhere on the map, it's very difficult for the Zerg to get a hold on those Medivacs because you don't have any kind of Mutalisk or Corruptors that could deal with the Medivacs.
Certainly, and the late game upgrades can be a big problem as well. You need to get those Vipers out eventually, or at least some Infestors, you know, otherwise the bio of the Medivacs are just going to heal too much.
The thing is, though, that Keen is not really the best drop player. Keen is a player that really relies on his Hellions, on his ground strategy. He's not one who is known for having like 3 drops active on the map at once.
Yeah.
And as soon as he's going into drop play, I feel that Crazy would immediately put down a lot of Spine and Spores. That's what you need to do if you go for this composition. But at this point, the Roaches are just moving in, the Widow Mines have been spotted, and Crazy now knows exactly what he's up against.
Yep. You know, he knows he has to get out of there because if he tries to stick around, obviously in just a few seconds, Bioforce will be there. He waits and brings the Overseer, so it looks like he wants to snipe those 2 Widow Mines. He's going to lose the Roaches in the process, but an okay trade for him overall. He gets some map presence here. Again, 2 Widow Mines going to hit these Roaches hard.
Yeah, hitting the Roaches here, and now the Overseer is also present on the map, so he has detection. We also see him now with the speed upgrade for the Overlords and Overseers. This will help him a little bit going into this game. And what I really like about Crazy is that he is so meticulous about his upgrades, heading into +2/+2 so fast.
Yeah, and it's really, really important when you're going for a composition like this. Look how ahead he is in upgrades, so Keen's never going to have a lead on him. Crazy has hidden his Hydralisk well too. Keen still doesn't know what he's up against just yet. He's continuing to make Widow Mines, which aren't the best against Hydralisk because they have such a great range.
And as mentioned before, we don't see a lot of drop play being executed by Keen. The Terran player is now heading into +2/+2 as well, but he is already a little bit behind. And Crazy, he takes a 4th base, and he's immediately also getting his Infestation Pit. The guy is heading straight for the Hive.
Yeah, he does not waste seconds. Right now, Keen is starting to realize what's happening. You can see the Hydralisk starting to take out his Widow Mines. He does not have any siege tanks. He does have a large Bioforce and a bunker here, but he's going to have to micro it really well.
Hydras with a range upgrade can now take down all those Widow Mines. They have the superior range, so really well done by Crazy, taking down those rocks and just posturing around, already pressuring Keen here.
And he knows he has so much creep on the map that he doesn't have to get the speed first. He can get the range first, then get the speed later. As you can see here, it's just not finishing while he's walking off creep. He's just microing so well against these Widow Mines. As you mentioned, they outrange.
Creep spread is insane at this point. I mean, it's so good. He has creep everywhere, and now we're going into the first engagement. Most of the Widow Mines are already gone, but the Terran player has so many units. Keen stimming in, and Crazy just doesn't have enough here, or does he?
It doesn't look like he does. You know, there's just way too much bio here. He did not respect the Medivacs.
Oh, he's losing now all those Overlords as well, Wolf.
Yeah, Overseer's going down, the Overlords are gone, and Keen taking a massive supply lead here. Even though the Zerg army was in better upgrades, those Medivacs make such a difference in the fight.
Yeah, they definitely do, and the Overlord's definitely a misstep here. He's still at the rally point set to the top right. He's losing all of them. It's not even going to be 2 supply blocks here, but still losing 5 Overlords for nothing, it's always something that you want to avoid.
Would love to see Keen here start to be aggressive with drop play since he now knows his opponent's composition. And, you know, surprisingly, he's not adding any siege tanks. He's just still relying on the Widow Mines and going with this momentum he has.
With a +2/+2, Crazy has the better upgrades now. Keen is moving onto the map, taking down the tumors with a scan. And Crazy really has to stabilize at this point. He has the superior economy with a 4th base, but now he's also supply block because he lost additional Overlords.
Yeah, he's desperately trying to get his hive out right now. Keen has taken map control out underneath his feet, and now he's moving across here. Does not want to go up on the high ground. He wants to find a different avenue. Lots of scans here.
Yeah, a lot of scans going down for Keen, and he has to take down all these creep tumors, and he's doing a decent job moving into the 4th now, but the reinforcements for Crazy, they are here, and they will prevent this base from dying.
Yep. One Widow Mine shot goes off, but he actually has, it looks like just barely enough. His 2-2 finisher on even upgrades, and those medevacs really making a huge difference here.
Yeah, those reinforcements for Crazy are a little bit too late to the party, and it looks like Keen will not only power through and take down this army, but also take the game. GG.
Keen takes the 1-0 lead, and you know, if he hadn't lost those Overlords, maybe he would have had enough units to hold that base, but Keen, with just such a stellar defense there, Crazy overextended himself a little bit.
Crazy now in a really good position in the group, not only because he took the 1-0 victory, but also because he's now in a position where he doesn't have to face Zerg anymore.
Yeah, Keen's got to be feeling great about that.
Yeah. He can fully concentrate on the next games that he has against Terran players, against Protoss players, and in this game, just solid defense and Crazy not really hitting that too well. I mean, the first attack that he tried to execute, he had crazy creep spread, really good creep spread, good upgrades, was heading into a hive, but the big problem for him was that he attacked with the force that was too small. Keen had an overwhelming amount of Marines and Marauders and just pushed through, and from that point on the momentum completely shifted.
Yeah, a lot of his roads sticking in the back, a lot of his reinforcements were not quite there when he decided to initiate the fight, and then Keen had too many medevacs, so his timing was not quite as crisp as it would have been, probably because of those Hellions that took out 13 drones and messed up with his larva.
With a little bit of support, maybe Infestors, maybe later on a few Vipers for Blinding Cloud would have done him a lot of good here, but he thought that he could push through, but then the Terran player stopped him, and Keen now takes the game, takes the first win in the group, and does not have to face Zerg anymore. So really, really comfortable position for him now.
Exactly. He's like, that's all he needed to do. And for him, it was a relatively straight-up game. He defended and then used that blunt ground force that Keen's known for. Like you say, he's not really known for his drops, not really known for doing great multitasking, just having this strong macro and just being aggressive straight up on the ground. And he just did exactly that.
What really helped him is that those Hellions took out an overwhelming amount of drones. They took down 13 in total. And even though Crazy immediately started to rebuild his drones, he lost a lot of mining time. He lost time to head into his composition. He hit the Roach upgrade very, very late because of it, the speed upgrade that is. So the Hellions doing a lot here, not only pressuring the Zerg, but also keeping him a little bit low and taking down all these drones. That was more than Keen was actually hoping for. I mean, he did a really good job.
Yeah, a lot of larva wasted there. And, you know, when you have to rebuild 13 drones, that's a lot of minerals spent, 650. So, I mean, that's never something that you want to ever have to deal with.
Exactly. So now we're heading into the next match. We don't have the players there just yet, but they will just jump in a few seconds. Let me just have a quick look.
It's going to be on DF Atlas.
Yeah, and we have Avenge versus Yonghua. So we have our Protoss versus Protoss now. And that's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, this definitely will, because Avenge, we haven't seen too much of that. You know, the focus for Avenge has been always the Protoss versus Terran. That's where he seems to be excelling the most. Great aggression and also a very strong late game. But Protoss is an entirely different monster. I mean, it's very, very different. It's kind of unforgiving with build orders, and sometimes you can lose a game just because you didn't scout Dark Templar, or because your opponent hid Void Rays from you, or you didn't see that Oracle, or you moved out at the wrong time. You know, it's all about scouting with that hallucination from the Sentry.
Exactly. And looking at the match history that we have for Avenge in Heart of the Swarm, and only looking at his offline games here, he didn't face a single Protoss yet. He faced a lot of Zerg players, he faced a lot of Terran players, but he did not play a single PvP in an offline environment in Heart of the Swarm just
not even once. This is his first time. And the one thing I will say about Avenge is that he's never really nervous. He used to be, I wouldn't say as confident as he is now, but now he's just on top of his game, does not get worried. This is his first match, and even though it's a PvP, I don't think it's going to affect him too much if he loses this one.
Yeah. And Yonghua, on the other hand, he lost terrain just recently in the Season 1 code of, well, that's how he ended up here in the first place. But that's going to be now pretty interesting to see. Yonghua, of course, also doing quite well at IEM Katowice that we had at the beginning of this year in January.
Yep, had some problems with his eyes following that, and a lot of people were wondering what was going on with him, but it looks like he's recovered. Now has another shot, getting right back into that Code S. This is definitely going to be a tough match for both of them. It's a starting one, and whoever wins gets the momentum here. Frost versus Frost, we saw it in our last group in the tiebreakers. It is a very intense matchup.
Yep. Also, of course, the only PvP that both of them have to play here. And let's see what Avenge has prepared. This is one of those games where you know in advance what kind of map you have to play against your opponent, where you can really just try to go for one build, one specific build. You don't have to play another Protoss player later on. So I feel these matches where a player only has to play the matchup once are the ones that you really concentrate, where you want to have a specific build executed to take down the opponent, whereas in most of the other games you really rely on your macro abilities.
Yep. Well, here we go, getting into it. Our only Frost versus Frost, Avenge versus Younghwa here at the Up and Downs of Powder and Wolf.